Welcome back. Previously, we talked about how to create a simple block and item. To do so, we also needed to add data to support the rendering information for both the block and the item. We look over here are the examples. Now, it gets quite cumbersome to do this by hand, so we do have a solution. We can programmatically generate this data. We'll call this DataGen. I've created a new package called DataGen inside of our mod's main package. I'm going to create a new class called LTR Model Provider. LTR is short for our mod, and Model Provider is the specific kind of data generator we're going to be creating. Now this class should derive from the base type Model Provider, which provides us with some important functions to generate these models. We'll implement the default constructor here. You see it takes a mod ID and a pack output. We don't need to pass in the mod ID as a parameter because we already know what it will be. We'll take this constant from our mod class. And we just need to override one method here, and that's going to be the register models method. We'll make it a protected void register models. It takes two parameters, a block model generators and an item model generators. Now, in order to generate all the data we had previously created by hand, we actually only need one line. This is because it's a very simple example of a six-sided block with one texture that looks like a block item in your hand. To do so, we can use a helper method for this called createTrivialCube. And all we have to do is pass in the block that we created. Make sure you're targeting our block class, bluestone, and get the value from the holder. This will create the block state definition and the block model for bluestone. Because we have an item created paired to bluestone that is a block item, this will automatically be picked up and the respective client item definition will also be created. Note that in this case, we don't need an item model because it can directly use the block model as the model for the item. In order to actually attach this data generator to our mod, we need to subscribe to an event. If you recall from the last video, we can add an event bus subscriber annotation with our mod ID. And the bus is going to be the mod bus. We need to subscribe to the onGatherData event. Call it public void onGatherData. Gather data event. And there's actually two subclasses to this. There is the client and there is the server. This is client data, so we're going to go with that one. And inside of this method, all we need to do is call event.createProvider and provide the constructor to this class. Before we can run our data generation, we need to make sure we do two things. First is, you might need to refresh your Gradle project to make sure that the run configurations reference your mod. I haven't done this since creating the mod, but you should only need to do it once. To do this, go to the right-hand side, open up your Gradle tab, and hit the refresh button. The next thing we need to do is delete the data that we had created by hand. At the moment, we have no method for managing conflicts between data, and if we generate this new data, it's going to be a duplicate of the hand-created one. So we want to only have one. We're going to go ahead and delete all of this data. Now I'm leaving the lang and textures because that is separate and we don't want to delete that. If we go to our run configurations and select client data, we can now run it and it should generate our data. So we've encountered an error while trying to run our data, and I'll walk you through how I go about solving something like this. Failed to load correctly. Expected subscribe event to be static. Simple fix, this method needs to be static. Now that we've corrected that, we can run it again. Okay, our data generation has succeeded, and if we look at the console output, the last line here, total files 3, written 3. So that means that it wrote 3 new files to our resources. If we look at our files, scroll up to this generated tab under source, we can see that we now have some block states, client items, and a block model being generated. We can open these up and find that they're pretty much exactly identical to what we had previously created by hand. Now, if we run the game and enter back into our test world, we'll see exactly what we expect to see, which is the same functionality and behavior. We have a bluestone block, we have the bluestone block item, and everything is rendering as we expect it to. Now, this is a very simple introduction to model generation and data generation in NeoForge, and in the future I will go into more advanced examples of how you can make blocks and items, and also other kind of data.